So as action figures collectors, we usually look for this one definite version of a character, and to my eyes, there has never been a perfect Superman figure, despite him being, you know, probably the most famous superhero on the planet. So here are the two top choices at the moment, I believe. I'm pretty sure there has been some really good ones in the past, like I quite like the DC Superheroes head sculpt. But the DC Universe Classics body is pretty crappy by today's standards. Like, those hips are just awful. So here's the McFarlane Multiverse Superman and the DC Collectibles Essential Superman. And, well, starting with the most important part, the head. Both these heads are pretty good, although I feel that this one just looks a little bit too old. I don't get the same sense of, like, justice, so to speak, if that makes any sense, as I get from this one. I also don't really like how the hair is super glossy on the McFarlane figure. However, in terms of body sculpts, I think the McFarlane takes it here. I always thought the DC Essentials figure was really slim, and I know that's because that entire line of figures was going to rely heavily on reuse. So, like, they made the Flash have the same body as Superman, I believe, so they wanted more something in between body rather than just one huge one for Superman and then something slimmer for everyone else. But poor Superman here suffered a bit. I also don't really like how they handled the trunks. Like, there's not even a seam line for the where the trunks end on the legs. It's just pure paint. Meanwhile, the McFarlane one has, you know, it's a separate piece. The trunks are a separate piece, and it just looks so much better. In terms of articulation, this one has pretty much only a swivel for the head. Actually, a little bit up and down as well, but there's no tilt really. And the head also sort of awkwardly sits at a slight angle, like it's leaning this way a little bit. I can't get it really to sit right. Shoulders less than 90 degrees, slightly annoying. Double hinged elbows though, that's alright. Hinge and swivel wrists. It's got an ab crunch. That doesn't actually... It's alright, it's extremely stiff and it's sort of awkward. Really stiff waist swivel. And then these hips with a thigh swivel and double hinged, double jointed knees. It's got these really weak ball joints for the ankles. I don't really like them, and then the ankle rocker is non-existent. But you can twist it, and it's not really working with me here. But you can hold the joint still and twist the foot, and then you can get a swivel out of. You can get an ankle rocker out of that, but it's almost too much effort to really deal with. Also, what I don't really like about this one is, aside from him being a bit skinny, like I mentioned, is that his forearms are so long. Just look how long and lanky they look. I think if you chopped it off to like there-ish, it would look alright maybe. Just a really lanky looking Superman with a fantastic head sculpt. So, looking at the McFarlane Superman, he has pretty great tilt in the head. He can't really look up like the DC Essentials one can. He can look down a little bit. Shoulders slightly past 90 degrees, which is great. single jointed elbows, which is a bit of a disappointment, but the arms look a little bit more proportionate. I think they could still be a little bit bulkier here. He's got these somewhat annoying wrist joints here, but it makes for easy swappability with the hands. I'm not going into accessories with these guys because this guy comes with nothing, I believe, and this guy only comes with he comes with a flight stand and some replacement hands, but let's not really worry about that. Here's another issue I don't really like about this figure. It's that you see this bit right here. It's so wide. Like, I think of Superman as having like a V-shaped body, but it's like almost a straight line here. It just bulges out really far. And then suddenly his waist is really thin. It just... maybe more like that would look better? It just looks a bit too thick. He's got a... like this... I think it's a ball joint in his torso. It's alright. It dislocates his body a little bit when you want to turn him, but he also got a waist swivel to help with that. Personally, I feel like they could have made the joints up here by the chest, by this line, and then I think if they had the emblem still come down slightly, it would really help sell the fluidity of the sculpt, but instead they decided to put it in like this super weird area where they break up his abs. Anyway, going on, this part, the trunks, is surprisingly rigid. It has a little bit of give. His legs can kick out like that far in comparison to the essentials, which can, you know, kick out pure 90. It's not even that much more. There's no swivel here whatsoever. Actually, there's like a little bit of give. There's something blocking it. I'm gonna have to disassemble it and see what I can do about it, because I don't really see a reason why it wouldn't be able to twist more. Actually, I see now, it's this area right here. If I cut some of that off, maybe it will be more... yeah, it's that just the butt bit of the leg. So it doesn't have a thigh swivel, but you can still, you know, get in some pretty good poses. You don't really need a thigh swivel all that bad, to be honest. Double hinged knees are not really the prettiest knees. Quite clunky and huge. And this part here, this huge block of plastic, is just quite unsightly. Nothing in the boots, and he's also got this sort of similar joint to the Essentials one, but it's a forward-facing rocker instead, so you have this ankle pivot if you want it, and of course you have the up and down. And he's also got toe hinges, which personally I feel are really unnecessary pieces of articulation. I've never liked toe hinges, but they seem to be quite solid, and that's one of my main gripes with them. They usually go soft really quick, well, loose really quick. And yeah, so what I think I'm gonna do is I might try a head swap here. I'm worried this head was gonna look a little bit too small, but you never really know until you try. So I'm probably gonna try to put a picture at the end of this video or something and see if that makes my ultimate Superman. I don't really think it's gonna do it, but here's the hoping. Also, now when I'm looking at it, the legs here are really undefined in comparison to this. I feel like they could have sculpted a little bit more muscle tone on the McFarlane figure. But yeah. So if we go purely factory figures though, I think I have to go with McFarlane's as the better Superman figure. There's also the cape, I guess, to mention, but I don't really like either cape. This one is slightly less out of the way, it's a little bit more pliable. This one is quite solid, but it's bigger, which I like. Ideally, you would just put some sort of cloth cape on it though. But I will be back in a bit with a head swap. Okay, so here is after the head swap. I had to modify the Essentials head quite a lot to make it fit because I can show you why. You see how absurdly long this is? So I needed to drill a hole into it. This is just some plastic to make the hole a little bit tighter so the fit is better. There we go. As you can see, the head is a little bit too small. Well, you can also see this head is way too big and it sits way too far down on the neck. Can't really do anything about that. But, you know... I don't really know. I really like the look of this. I really like this head. Like, I like it even more on this body. Like, now when I see some Superman-ish proportions. But, you know, it is still quite obviously too small. But also, at the same time, my collection, I don't mind it as much as I did when I first saw it. So, I might just keep it. You know, like in poses it's not going to be that obvious, maybe. And maybe I'll also just get used to it. But... yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen official figures have the same issue with, like, you know, a really small head and stuff. This is just me trying to justify the fact that he's a bit pinheaded, but there's still something I really like about this. So, you know, I might just keep it. What do you guys think? Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and I'll be sure to come up with more content later on. See ya!
I won't have vigilantism in my town.